2 years old, Amir still doesn't know that his parents and siblings were killed in the strike that disfigured him. Yesterday, he saw a nurse that looked like his father. His aunt Nahaya tells us he kept screaming, "Dad, Dad, Dad." Amir is still too young to comprehend the horror all around him. But 20-year-old Lama understands it all too well. 10 weeks ago, she was studying engineering at university and helping to plan her sister's wedding. Today, she is recovering from the amputation of her right leg. Her family followed Israeli military orders and fled from the north to the south, but the house where they were seeking shelter was hit in a strike. The world isn't listening to us, she says. Nobody cares about us. We have been dying for over 60 days, dying from the bombing, and nobody did anything. Words of condemnation delivered in a thin rasp. But does anyone hear them? Like Grozny, Aleppo, and Mariupol, Gaza will go down as one of the great horrors of modern warfare.
So here's the thing. This directly contradicts the overarching prevailing narrative in mainstream media, and the reason for why you have an Israeli foreign ministry guy contextualizing their acts of violence every single time they do it in real time on CNN is so that they can control the narrative and say, no, we're doing precision strikes, targeted strikes. These are all deliberate. It's by design. Don't fucking worry about it. And that way, the only thing you see on social media, which, older generations already don't really trust or are scared of unless it like directly confirms their biases, right? Like the anti-vaxxer shit or QAnon or whatever, is basically dished out with or brushed away with a Pallywood narrative. When you have Clarissa Ward of CNN, decorated fucking journalist, now showing a baby and a 20-year-old engineering student who was victim to Israel's discriminate, not indiscriminate, precise striking, then it turns a lot of people's attitudes. Then it changes a lot of people's minds. I can fucking yell here every day in perpetuity and show you this death and show you this devastation, and it will fall on deaf ears to certain demographics that will never see it. That will never look at what I'm saying and treat it as though I'm serious or an honest actor that can just like cast it away. Because it's CNN, those very same people will look at that and go, okay, wait a minute, I didn't know it was like this. I didn't know it was this severe.
Now, the death toll in Gaza as a result of Israel's frenzied bombardment currently hovers at roughly 18,000. If you do the math, extrapolating as the UN says that 2/3 of the casualties roughly are civilians, that is about 11,800 civilians who have been killed in just over 2 months. And to give you a comparison, in the first year of the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003, according to an independent research organization, some 7,700 civilians were killed by U.S. forces. Yep. In 20 years in Afghanistan, according to independent research groups, some 12,000 civilians were killed. So in just 2 months, you're now approaching 12,000 civilians, and that's the same amount who were killed in 20 years during the U.S.'s war in Afghanistan. So this is
plus displacement in the millions. No, CNN and other news outlets will now turn on Israel, pretending moral outrage to save face, while the U.S. will tacitly accept the genocide. They are trying to support genocide while taking the moral high ground. No. I mean, there's truth to what you're saying, and what you're saying is exactly how it will play out. But I don't care about that. I care about the way that this is being perceived by a broader public. I also look at this from a very realistic perspective. As someone who's been advocating for Palestinians for the past 10 years publicly, I've never seen this level of like insider humanizing coverage on the plight of Palestinians. It took tens of thousands of dead civilians to get here, but this certainly changes people's perspectives. 20,000 Palestinians, UN estimation being that 2/3 is civilians. It's probably even higher than that.
It's always difficult to compare conflicts, but I would just say it is so striking that the people of Gaza have nowhere they can go, have nowhere that is safe. They are literally being told to move from the north as the north gets bombed. They move to the south and the south gets bombed. Now they're expected to move to a different area in central Gaza. And let's be very clear, it is not easy to move around right now in Gaza. We saw almost no cars on the streets. People do not have fuel. People are afraid
to try to make road runs because of the risks that that incurs. And so, of course, you are seeing a horrific impact, not just in terms of the civilian casualties that we talked about, but in terms of the humanitarian crisis. You're talking about malnutrition.
Yeah, if you scale the population, it's even more sinister since Gaza has only 2 million people and Iraq and Afghanistan have some 10x at the start of the century. That, and also it's in a much larger, in a much broader area of conflict. It's an entire country versus a tiny fucking sliver of an open air prison that Israel has relegated these 2.2 million Gazans into. They're internal refugees. The cruelty is fucking unimaginable, dude. It is so fucked up.
One extra point that I really need to make here, Phil, because I think it's important. This was our first time being able to gain access into Gaza. But the journalists in Gaza have been doing heroic, extraordinary.
What the fuck is going on with the CNN coverage, man? What's happening? This is like the second time this shit happened.
They have paid such a high price for that. This is the deadliest conflict for journalists that we have seen in decades.
Yeah, this is the other part of the coverage that I'm like genuinely shocked that the Western media didn't immediately get into. Journalists in the United States of America are like, in many instances, just petty fucking assholes. But there is one thing that they care about, which is like journalism being under attack, right? They love talking about how, you know, a journalist, even in a fucking foreign ally, and certainly in a foreign adversary, whenever a journalist is like under attack, they see it as like the entire profession being under attack. But this is the first time I've ever seen them like straight up not even fucking talk about it.
You have a perfect storm here with massive bombardment, an inability to create safe zones, an inability to get humanitarian access where it's needed, and incredibly brave journalists who are doing everything they can to tell the stories and bring the reality to the world, but the frustration of international journalists who can't get in to try to complement and supplement their efforts.
It is remarkable and such an important picture that you paint. I was struck by, in that field hospital, so much of what we've talked about has been what is needed in terms of medical supplies, as you just pointed out, and what that can mean, but also the electricity. And there was so much talk about fuel in the beginning and fuel being needed to run generators at hospitals. How that field hospital that you were at, how was it able to operate and to run some of those machines, and is it at risk?
So, Erica, because that field hospital is operated by the Emirates, and because the Emirates have a normalized relationship with Israel, they are able to get supplies in, get fuel in a way that the vast majority of hospitals in Gaza are not. And even they face very real challenges, endless bureaucracy, onerous waits at the border trying to get those supplies in.
Let me explain something to you. Chat, this is one of the first instances where you are watching this atrocity happen. Like, you're watching the impact of Israel's bombing campaign, and there is no Jonathan Concuncreus on the side of the fucking screen with his big-ass, Frankenstein-ass head going, oh, this is a totally valid act of terror. We had to do it. That's the first fucking time you're seeing a white American woman, a respected journalist, a respected conflict reporter, and no fucking contextualization whatsoever is occurring. 67 fucking days it took. 67 fucking days it took. Think about how important it is that this level of like contextualization occurs. That's precisely the reason why they won't do it. You got Clarissa Ward, who was like ducking when rockets were falling around her, as she claimed. You got her week 1 doing that. And now week fucking however many weeks have passed by now. It's like 70 fucking days almost. Now this is her coverage. I don't like it when she did the other thing, but I do like it when she does this, because the other thing finally contributes to her being seen as like a legitimate person by the broader CNN audience. Why is this happening? It's because of all the pressure that people globally have put upon their administrations. It's because of the severe demonstrations that have occurred over and over again everywhere, that it's getting to a point where governments can't just turn a blind eye and say, nah, it's fine. We're just going to do whatever we've been doing. We're going to stay the course. We're going to keep Israel. We're going to let Israel do whatever the fuck it wants. That's what it is. You're seeing American allies start to turn. She's not a government official. First of all, as CNN's conflict reporter, She's more of a government official than like a local council district member, okay? Let me just explain that real quick. This is an extension. As far as foreign policy goes, CNN is an extension